Hey everyone, today I want to talk a little bit about Mega Absol Box and kind of what options we have right now in the meta, because I think it's a very interesting deck and I think it still hasn't been fully solved. I know that's crazy to say because Tord really just recently won one of the largest regionals of all time with this deck that he basically created, but we're still seeing a lot of variety with the deck. There's no set deck list like other decks, like Dragon Ball for example, which is the same 58 cards every time you see it. Right now, there's a couple different ways to play the Absol Kangaskhan deck, and I think one of the really interesting ones out of LAIC that I saw was this build right here, which kind of relies on Frillish and Eerie. Now, we did get to see this match on stream. It was the first round of day 2. Daichi right here ended up finishing 13th place overall with the deck. Very interesting list overall, and I think it really kind of solves a lot of the issues that this deck has. Right now, it's a deck that has a lot of solid matchups. You have a lot of options against a lot of decks, but you definitely do still struggle in certain matchups. One of them, of course, being a deck like Goldango, also stuff like Ledge. There's a lot of decks like that where you can really kind of struggle against, and there's really no clear answer to it. A lot of people are teching for Cornerstone right now, so the question is, do you even play it? And if you don't play it, how do you deal with those decks? And I think Frillish definitely helps solve a lot of those problems. You got to really see this play out in game 2 of Daichi's set on stream, and really if you played Goldango at all, or you've played against Goldango, you kind of know that it does struggle against Jelly Gardevoir at times. If you can't get set up turn 1, if they start item locking you right away, it can be very difficult to win because Frillish is very tanky. It can generally survive a hit against Solrock if it doesn't have Vitality Band. But a lot of times you can just cycle between the Frillishes and just be extra annoying and basically prevent them from playing the game. When you consider Frillish in a deck like this, you also run Bravery Charms, you also run Lively Stadium, so you could be at 160 HP, which is kind of insane. It's very hard to get around. So if you're Goldango and you can't really set up, you have no way to knock this out because Munkidori just pushes the damage back. It's like, what do you really do? All you do is draw cards until you're able to play the game, but that's where Eerie comes in. So now you have the ability to have the Goldango player build up their hand. You can use Eerie to get rid of those item cards and basically just shut them down entirely. And I think this is really interesting, especially because with Goldango right now, you see it everywhere. Goldango players are teching for Cornerstone. They've got the Mega Mawile, they've got the Mega Lucario, they've got answers to kind of deal with that card. And if they can deal with that card, it makes it very difficult to win. It's just a hard matchup because Goldango can hit for basically infinite numbers. It's really not hard to do either. So you're basically just knocking out 3-price Pokemon and you just can't really keep up. So I think the list here is very interesting. I like it a lot. We do also include, like I said, the double Eerie with the Frillish, which makes a lot of sense. I almost want there to be a second Frillish. I feel like it's such a good card. But again, it's just kind of a card that you're using for certain matchups. You're not necessarily using it every matchup. Your strategy here, your game plan is still pretty much normal. You want to go for Turbo Energize, you want to power up your guys and start swinging once you can, but the Frillish definitely adds another layer to this deck. And I think it's very interesting because with all the different builds we've seen of this deck, it's pretty consistent across the board where you're basically playing 6 Dark Energy, 2 Mist, and then 2 Energy of whatever tech cards you have. In this case, we have 2 Psychic Energies, and it also unlocks the potential to attack with Munkidori for Confusion, which is something that previously wasn't there. And it's not super hard necessarily to find the energies you need. You've got Arvin to find Earthen Vessel, you've got Lilies to draw a bunch of cards, so it's not really hard to find that necessarily. So you can pretty consistently pull off the turn 1 item log if you wanted to. This right here is Tord's winning list from Vegas. As you can see here, the tech of choice in this one is the Cornerstone to kind of deal with things like Goldango, since it does have an ability and it can't hit it. But again, a lot of people are taking for Cornerstone. They've got the Mega Mawile, they've got the Lucario, like I mentioned. The question is, how do you deal with it? And I think right now, Frillish might be the best answer. This deck is very interesting because it's one of those decks that's very meta dependent. So depending on what's going on with other decks, it kind of depends, or kind of decides what you're gonna have to do with this deck to kind of play around that. Or made a great call going into Vegas. A lot of people were not respecting Cornerstone. They really weren't respecting this deck at all, I feel like. And he definitely took full advantage of that, and it really paid off, as we could see throughout that whole tournament. So aside from the Cornerstone, we basically replaced that with moved my whole mic, my bad. We basically replaced that with the Frillish package instead. And again, it works great with Munkidori and stuff like that too. So I'm definitely excited to kind of test that moving forward. It's been a deck that I've been very interested in since Vegas. I just haven't really found a build that I like necessarily, but the Frillish so far has been my favorite. And I'm definitely enjoying it a lot. The other main tech that we've kind of seen, which hasn't been as popular, is the Crustle tech here. I believe it got 13th place at Vegas with Fernando Cifuentes playing this one here. Same concept. You replace the 2 fighting with 2 grass. You throw in the Crustle package here instead. And this can be better, especially if you're kind of teching for Cornerstone, because a lot of the techs involve EX Pokemon, and Crustle doesn't take damage from EX Pokemon. So in a way, it's kind of better to kind of deal with those same exact matchups. The only problem is moving forward, I feel like with Phantasmal Flames, I feel like from what we've seen in Japan, a lot of lists are adding the Mega Lopunny, which can pretty much deal with both of those techs, because it does have a shred attack that ignores effects of other Pokemon. So essentially, it can get through Crustle, it can get through Cornerstone, and overall, it's just kind of a better Pokemon to include with Goldango if you want to tech for Cornerstone. So I feel like moving forward, the Crustle and the Cornerstone are just going to be naturally weaker because people are playing the Lopunny. And because of that, I think that the Frillish might be the way to go, because it gives you the ability to kind of shut down the game, play it at your pace, and kind of just control the game from the very beginning. You know, obviously they can hit that, but it does take a while to kind of build that up, and if they can't play items, a lot of times they can't really get there right away. So I think that the Frillish package might be the way to go, because again, here you have Spiky Hopper, 160 damage. It is not affected by effects of your opponent's Pokemon. You know, Cornerstone does not hit this for weakness, because it doesn't do weakness, so you're not really taking a whole lot of damage. You got 330 HP, and then you're basically one-shotting Crustle. So yeah, it can be very annoying to deal with. So I think Lopunny is definitely the answer to deal with Crustle and Cornerstone, and because of that, I think that Frillish might be the best option moving forward. And again, looking at the results in Japan, these are from some of the most recent city leagues. You know, obviously we see the Lopunny Dusknoir deck. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the Goldango. You see it a lot here with Goldango. It's just kind of the inclusion now to kind of deal with those matchups, and yeah, it just kind of shuts that strategy down, I feel like. So I feel like it's counterintuitive to have a tech card like Cornerstone or Crustle when the decks that you're teching for now have an answer to that, like, pretty reliably. I'd say a better answer than before. I think it's just kind of a better option in general. So yeah, I think moving forward, the Frillish is definitely interesting. I've always thought Frillish was a really good card. It's one of those cards where it's kind of like, why don't other decks play this? But it makes sense because you need Psychic Energy. It doesn't necessarily work for every deck. But again, with the Absol deck, it's one where you can include 2 Psychic Energy. It really doesn't hurt your consistency whatsoever, and you basically just have that ability to start doing that turn 1 if you want to. And with all the added buffed HP stuff, Bravery Charm, Lively Stadium, you're basically living forever. You got Monkey Dory, so you're kind of just chilling, you know what I mean? You're just chilling behind Frillish, kind of slowly attaching as we saw on stream. And then once you're fully set up, you can play the game. Go ahead and let me know in the comments what you think of Frillish, if you think it makes sense for the deck. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's kind of better than a Badoo, which has 30 HP, and it's a deck where you can actually fit Frillish in without hurting the consistency, so it makes perfect sense why you would include it. And we obviously saw it pay off at LAIC with a top 16 finish. I believe somebody else got top 32 with it as well. I'm kind of waiting for all the Luminous stuff to come out, but I did see it on Twitter, so yeah. I think moving forward, this could be the play, and I'm very excited to see how it plays out. All that being said, hope you guys have a good one, and I will catch you all in the next one.